Thank you everyone for joining us today and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Abby Ball. I'm Vice President of Market Research here at Marion Square, and with me today is Harvey Morrison, co-founder and CEO of Marion Square, and Caitlin Lewis, Director of Market Research at Carahsoft. While we're waiting for everyone to join, I just wanted to go over a quick overview of the agenda for today. We'll be discussing who are considered critical and emerging technologies as defined by the federal government, what the current government need is for emerging technologies, and how to engage with agencies and move forward in fiscal year 24. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. We will be recording the webinar today and be sending a follow-up email with the recording and the slides from today's presentation. Everyone will be muted for the duration of the webinar, but we encourage you to submit any questions you may have through the Q&A window, as we'll be doing a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. All right, Harvey, I'll hand it to you to get us started and share more about Marion Square.
Yeah, hey, thanks a lot, Abby. I appreciate everybody joining today. What I thought I would do is just give everybody a quick background of who Marion Square is, and then we'll let Caitlin talk a little bit about Carahsoft before we dive into the meat of the agenda today. But just at a high level, Marion Square is an advisory firm that helps organizations seeking to either launch or grow their government business. We work with companies both large and small who are considering making the investment in government, or maybe they're a company that needs to revamp their government operations due to, say, poor results, or they're just looking for exponential growth in their existing government business. We were founded in 2015, and over the last 8 years, we've helped over 150 companies with technologies ranging from cybersecurity and AI to VR, AR, and advanced computer-based training types of techniques. We say our mission is fundamentally to enable our clients to build successful government businesses through our detailed market research and analysis, coupled with development and execution of effective government go-to-market sales strategies and marketing campaigns.
And then for Carahsoft, I want to thank everyone for joining the webinar today. And I think most of you on the webinar might already be familiar with Carahsoft, but those who are newer to the relationship, Carahsoft has been supporting the public sector IT industry for close to 20 years now. We have expertise in solutions in cloud, AI, customer experience, emerging technology, and a lot more. We work with our wonderful resellers, system integrators, consultants, partners to provide industry-leading IT products, services, and training through hundreds of contract vehicles. And Carahsoft is dedicated to helping our vendors and partners navigate the complexities of selling into the government marketplace, which really brings us to why we're here today. You can go to the next slide. So let's talk about what is currently happening in this critical and emerging technology space, because there is a ton of opportunity here that you can and should start leveraging now. So first, how does the government define critical and emerging technology, which is also commonly referred to as CTEs? It's defined as a subset of advanced technologies that are potentially significant to U.S. national security. And on May 4th of this year, the Biden-Harris administration released the National Standards Strategy for Critical and Emerging Technology. This strategy really outlines how the United States government can strengthen their leadership, international competitiveness, national security, and ensure that the CTE standards embrace transparency, effectiveness, relevance, and the government will be doing this by pursuing these 4 objectives listed on this slide. They're going to be working alongside with their partners in the public and private industry. In the objectives, like investments, we're going to be seeing an increase in R&D funding. It's really going to ensure a strong foundation for future standards set forth by the government. And it's also going to support the development of standards that address risk, security, and resilience. And we're already seeing this with the CHIPS and Science Act of 2022, which provides a $52 billion budget in semiconductor research, development, manufacturing, and workforce development. The second objective is going to be participation, which will really remove and prevent barriers to private sector in participation with these standards development by improving communication with the industry. And then for workforce, it's really just to educate and empower the standards workforce. So, hey, those in government, those in industry who will be helping set forth these standards for CTEs. And then lastly, for the objectives, it's going to be integrity and inclusivity. So it's really going to deepen those standards of cooperation with allies and partners to support a robust standards governance process and facilitate broader representation in standards development. So really overall, in this era of rapid technology transformation, the CTEs are going to be a huge priority for government, and they're really here to stay. So if we can go to the next slide. So what technology will the White House be prioritizing and care about? It's going to be everything listed on this slide, from advanced computing, like supercomputing, edge computing, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, quantum technology. So we're going to see quantum cryptography, sensing, and networking. But if you are a software company that has a product that falls into any of these categories, this is really going to be a huge, huge opportunity for you. And I'm going to pass it over to Harvey to kind of deep dive into why you should care.
Yeah, so thanks a lot, Caitlin. Yeah, so Caitlin just walked through, I think, a really good overview of where the administration and the government is with regards to a focus on CETs. But if you really want to boil it down as an organization, if you have an emerging technology or a critical and emerging technology that falls into one of those categories, why would you want to consider pursuing work with the federal government? Well, there's a few reasons that really pop up to us based upon the research that we've done. One is you're going to see in these upcoming slides for certain CETs that are highlighted, the budget is large in FY24, and it's anticipated to grow even larger in the coming years. We'll actually highlight a few of those facts in the upcoming slides. Secondly, being in first, as we found, being part of the initial research, development, testing, and prototyping of these types of technologies is really a way for your organization and your technology to become a standard for government in later years. And that's really where the big contracts are won and those sorts of things. And right now, the government is in that phase where, hey, we're wanting to, and they actually spell it out in the budget, we're wanting to identify, test, and mature these types of solutions. So getting in early is going to help you to become the standard. And lastly, and we'll hit this too, is the government has worked really hard over the last few years to improve how it works with vendors, especially in this R&D, prototyping, testing phase, to really streamline the procurement process and make the government much more user-friendly to work with. So I think that's going to be a big plus for organizations wanting to get into this space as well. So let's dive into a few specific agencies and talk a little bit about the funding they're looking for FY24 in the CET space. So we'll start Department of Defense. As everybody knows, they always have a huge budget, but they really are going to be a big spender in the CET space in FY24. As you can see, this slide came from a DoD presentation. It's their R&D and prototyping budget requests for FY24, and you'll see the key areas to highlight, at least from a software perspective, are integrated sensing and cyber. They've got a $1.2 billion budget request for that. AI and machine learning, they've got almost a $650 million request there. You're going to hear a lot about future G in the coming years, and that's really the 5G technologies and how they're going to be deployed throughout government. They've got a $318 million budget there. And then quantum technology, which you'll see is starting to break out into a few key categories. Quantum encryption, so you hear a lot about post-quantum encryption coming up, quantum information sciences, and then quantum computing. And the DoD has got a $159 million budget request in right now for those technologies. And then if you look specifically, so you take that next layer down and go, okay, great, those are the high-level budgets. What are some of the programs that are going to be spending? Well, one is this Quantum Transaction Acceleration Initiative that DoD has. They've got a $75 million budget where they're specifically stating they want to mature, demonstrate, and transition these types of quantum technologies into the DoD. Another interesting point on this, if you read their budget request, they've actually stated they're planning to request over $100 million annually for the next 3 years in their budget requests coming up. So this quantum space is really going to start to take off, especially here in the DoD. And as you'll see, there's some other areas in government that are also spending large on quantum. And then there are also several AI ML projects inside of the DoD. One that we'll highlight is this Joint All-Domain Command and Control Program, where they're requesting over $1 billion in AI funding for FY24 as well. Another agency that's making a big investment we want to highlight is the National Science Foundation, and specifically inside of NSF, because they have a lot of programs, but they have a Technology Innovation Program, or TIP. And as the slide outlines, NSF is requesting quite a bit of funding for CET and CET types of programs. So you can see advanced wireless, which includes the Future G technology that we talked about, $41 million. AI, again, $138 million. And again, quantum information sciences, over $50 million is being requested for R&D and technology transfer types of programs. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the National Artificial Intelligence Research Program inside of NSF. This is another program that's looking at AI and research. And the nice thing or the interesting point about this is they're looking at AI across a broad spectrum. So you can see they're looking at AI to deal with situations and use cases and everything from next generation cyber to AI for agriculture to even AI for augmented learning. So they're really digging deep into AI and looking for innovative solutions. The next agency is the Department of Energy. And specifically in the Department of Energy, if you look at their Department of Energy Office of Science, they've requested a budget of $8.8 billion for next year, which is, as you'll see, it looks like a small percent increase, but they had a large budget to begin with. So it's a $700 million increase year over year. And they've highlighted some key areas, one being $168 million for AI/ML, $280 million for quantum technology, and $67 million for advanced computing. So again, you're starting to see trends pop up amongst the various agencies as to really what they're looking for and what they're starting to fund. Lastly, we'll just highlight, and again, this is by no means an exhaustive list of the different agencies, but these are just a few we wanted to highlight to give you a relative example. But lastly is DHS S&T, which has requested over $80 million for FY24 to fund work and prototypes and pilots in areas like AI, 5G, and quantum. So with that, what I'd like to do is turn it back over to Caitlin, who's going to spend a few minutes talking with you about how government is trying to improve their interactions, how they engage, and actually how they start to contract with companies. Because I think this is going to be a critical driver, and really understanding this is going to be critical in how you plan your go-to-market to maximize, your ability to capture these funds and contracts.
Thanks, Harvey. So as Harvey just covered, guys, this is a great marketplace for emerging technology solutions because the government really has never been more open to embracing emerging technology. And we can see that with the huge dollar amounts and the numerous programs that have been put into place so that the government can connect with innovative companies. So right now, the government has adopted this learn fast mindset where they're not afraid to fail, try again until there's a successful result. And we're really seeing this with the adoption of flexible contract mechanisms, such as innovation procurement, channels like the DIA's Neetopedia and the innovation hubs like AskWorks. There's also incubators for the DoD. They're called software factories. I do just want to mention that software factories are for the DoD right now, but through our research, we are starting to see that they're going to be expanding this into all of government. And if you are if you do have a DevSecOps solutions, this is going to be a great place for you to start. Is in those software factories. And then if you can go to the next slide. And there also has been an influx in growth in strategic innovation offices and personnel. We will have a resource page that will go out after the webcast that will really have the full list of offices. Those are going to be the offices that you want to be talking to about all of these programs and all that funding that Harvey just went over. But I did just want to point out that, again, this adoption of emerging technology, it isn't just for the federal government. It's also going to be for state and local. So, for example, at the bottom, California hired an innovation lead. And these are going to be people in charge of leading the adoption of the critical and emerging technology, because typically what we see is that state and local agencies will adopt what the federal agencies are also adopting. So it's going to be like a trickle-down effect. And it's just showing us, again, that this opportunity is endless, and there's a ton of funding and things that you can be leveraging today. And that's really what Caresoft and Marion Square is here to help you do. So with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Harvey.
Yes, I think just as a summary, right, as we kind of look through at least the few agencies we highlighted, and then the work that we've done for some clients across all the agencies, critical emerging technologies is going to be a focus, at least, FY24 through FY28. If you look at any of the comments in the budgets and the things the agencies are asking for, I would highlight it up as AI, quantum, advanced computing, and future G, or the 5G networks. From a software perspective, those are some of the newer technologies that government is really looking at. As always, they're going to spend a lot of money on a research and development perspective in cyber. We are starting to see more AI-related work associated with cyber as an area of focus for government. So again, that bottom line from that perspective, if you have some of those technologies, understanding where to target, understanding what type of contract vehicles or how to approach these agencies, really needs to be started now. It kind of hits to the second point there, because we're halfway through, right? FY23 for the government. So, they're already, I think, going to start to look for, hey, we're planning our budgets to be passed. Probably won't be, as we all know, in September. It'll probably be, November, December. But they're already starting to think about what types of prototypes do we want to do, what's in the market today that we should be looking at or we should be considering. So now is really the time to be putting your plans together and reaching out to these agencies and having a discussion with them if you have some of these critical and emerging technologies, and try to really understand, hey, how do we get connected here so we're ahead of the game when the budgets get passed and these programs start to open up. Yeah, so I think I covered a lot of that, but really, identifying the agencies that have the R&D budgets. Again, we covered 3 or 4 of them today. There's many more that have them. There are some, though, that aren't really focused on it. So if you don't want to waste a lot of your time, make sure you do that research and really understand, hey, which ones are a good fit for us, and then get in front of them and figure out what they're trying to do for FY24. So just a quick plug for Marion Square. We do help our clients along with Caresoft to do those types of market assessments, and also help with the sales execution of, hey, we want to go after these funds. What's the best way to do it? So if there's interest in learning more about that, please reach out to the folks there at Caresoft, and they can connect you with us.
Great. And as mentioned, we will be following up the webinar with the recording and also the slide deck. And we also have, with Caresoft's help, put together a joint resource hub with all of the resources that Caitlin and Harvey have both mentioned. So be on the lookout for that as well. And then moving into Q&A, one question we did have come through, will there be set-asides for the emerging technology funding? As in, will agencies only be funding companies with prototypes, or are they going to be funding companies with finished products?
Yes, I think if you look at a lot of what's going on right now, it's going to be R&D, prototyping, trying to mature this technology. But again, as I mentioned earlier, I think getting into those programs is going to help you set the stage for what type of technology they look for when they do try to go for a full-scale procurement. You're going to help drive those requirements by participating in a lot of these programs now. And the nice thing is they have a nice budget to fund the work that you're doing.
Okay. It looks like that's the only question that has come through. So,
Do you want to give it a
oh.
minute if others want to answer or click for a question in the Q&A button above?
I was going to say, we just had another one come through. How can small businesses leverage these opportunities? Does CareSoft or Marion Square have a platform or point of contact to help guide us in this process?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of different ways we can help get engaged and start to work for some of those opportunities for sure. Yeah. So I don't know, Caitlin, if they want to get in touch with, is your information here, or we'll send that out at the end to everybody. So yeah, please reach out and they can get everybody in touch with the right folks.
Yep. And if I could just add, there's so many different avenues, just like Harvey mentioned, that we can help you guys with. We track a ton of opportunities around small businesses and around all this emerging technologies. So we have a lot of information to help prep you and talk to these customers.
Yeah, and there's also a strategy you need to think about too with how do we approach them? What's the messaging? How do we put together an effective and a good proposal that's going to make us stand out in the crowd. So all that goes into this as well to be successful. And again, we can help with all of that.
Thank you, guys. I'll give it another second here. Another question came through, so we can schedule a one-on-one with you folks to go over this process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Be happy to do it.
Yep. Okay, it looks like I'll give another minute here just in case any more questions come through. Any last comments, Harvey or Caitlin?
No, I think it's a great opportunity. Like I say, if your technology falls into that space, you should definitely take a look at it.
Yep. And this is also an opportunity to be, like Harvey said, hey, to be unique, how to stand out, how to work with your customers. Because again, they're looking for that innovative technology, those kind of solutions.
Great. Well, it looks like that's all that's come through for now. So we'll be following up with contact information, the recording, the slides, resource hub, all that good stuff here in the next day or so. So be on the lookout. And thanks everyone for joining today. We appreciate the time.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.